A gentle breeze whispered through the deserted park, stirring the dry leaves into tiny whirlwinds beneath a heavy, grey sky that seemed to hold its breath. Oliver, a 3-year-old boy blind from birth, was playing quietly near his mother, Sophia. The park, encircled by a dense forest, had always felt like a sanctuary, a safe haven for their afternoon outings. But in the blink of an eye, everything shattered. Sophia had been distracted for just a moment, her attention pulled away by the ringing of her phone. She lowered her gaze, her fingers fumbling to answer the call. When she looked up again, her heart stopped. Oliver was gone. Her voice trembled, cracking under the weight of panic as she cried out, "Oliver, where are you?" The little boy, drawn by a faint sound in the distance, had wandered off into the trees, unaware of the danger that lurked in the shadows. Alone and vulnerable, he felt the crushing absence of his mother. His small heart raced as he called out, "Mum, help!" But his voice was swallowed by the rustling leaves and the howling wind. He had no idea where he was or which way to turn. Fear wrapped around him like a suffocating blanket, his tiny hands reaching out into the void, searching for something, anything, to hold on to. Just as despair threatened to consume him, a presence emerged from the shadows. A stray dog, its fur rough and unkempt, stepped out from behind a bush. Its deep, soulful eyes seemed to pierce through Oliver's fear. The dog was thin, almost fragile, but there was a quiet strength in its movements, a determination that spoke of something extraordinary. It watched Oliver intently, as if it could see the boy's terror and understood it completely. The dog let out a single, low barker sound that was firm but not frightening. Oliver froze, his breath catching in his throat. There was something in that bark, something warm and reassuring, as if the dog were saying, "I'm here, you're not alone." Slowly, the dog moved closer, its nose brushing against Oliver's outstretched hand. The boy felt a strange sense of comfort, a warmth that eased the icy grip of fear. "Who are you?" Oliver whispered, his voice trembling with both fear and hope. This unexpected meeting between the boy and the dog marked the beginning of something extraordinary. While Sophia continued her frantic search, her heart breaking with every passing second, the stray dog seemed to have a plan. Oliver's fate was no longer in his own hands. It was now in the paws of this mysterious, protective creature named Thor. Oliver, still disoriented and trembling with fear, felt the warmth of Thor's breath near his small hand. Though he couldn't see the dog's appearance, he sensed something powerful and comforting in Thor's presence, quiet strength that seemed to wrap around him like a shield. The dog let out a soft whine, a sound so gentle it felt like a whisper of reassurance. Somehow, Oliver understood. "Do you want to help me?" he asked, his voice quivering with a mix of hope and uncertainty. Thor barked again, this time with a firm, decisive tone, and began to walk slowly, pausing every few steps to make sure Oliver was following. The boy, his heart still racing, clung to the trust this mysterious animal had sparked within him. He stretched out his hand, letting the sound of Thor's paws on the ground guide him through the unfamiliar terrain. Meanwhile, Sophia was frantically wandering through the park, her voice breaking as she called out for her son, "Oliver, Oliver, where are you?" Her heart was a storm of fear and guilt, each second stretching into an unbearable eternity. Strangers had joined her search, their faces filled with concern, but no one had seen her little boy. Thor suddenly stopped, his body tensing as his ears pricked forward. A rustling sound came from the underbrush, the sharp crackle of broken branches. Oliver, unaware of the danger, kept moving forward, but Thor stepped in front of him, his low growl a warning to stay back. Suddenly, a large deer burst from the dense trees, its eyes wide with alarm. For a moment it stood frozen, then it bounded away, disappearing into the shadows of the forest. Once the danger had passed, Thor turned back to Oliver, his rough tongue gently licking the boy's hand, as if to say, "You're safe now." "What was it?" Oliver asked, his voice small but curious, sensing that Thor had protected him. The dog didn't answer with words, of course, but he nudged Oliver gently with his nose, guiding him once more towards safety. Back in the park, one of the men helping with the search spotted small footprints in the damp earth. Sophia's heart leaped with a fragile hope as she followed the tracks, her voice trembling as she called out, "Oliver, are you there?" Thor, hearing her desperate cry, stopped in his tracks and let out a loud, echoing barker sound that seemed to answer Sophia's call. "Mum," Oliver cried out, his voice filled with relief as he recognized her voice. But their ordeal wasn't over yet. Between Oliver and his mother flowed a small stream, its waters swollen and swift from the recent rains. Oliver, unaware of how close he was to the edge, stood perilously near the slippery bank. Thor, sensing the danger, sprang into action. He positioned himself between Oliver and the stream, his barks sharp and urgent, cutting through the air to draw the attention of Sophia and the rescuers. Guided by the sound, Sophia rushed to the scene, her heart pounding in her chest. She arrived just in time to see Thor gently push Oliver back with his nose, steering the boy away from the treacherous edge. Sophia ran to her son, tears streaming down her face as she swept him into her arms. She held him tightly, her body shaking with relief and lingering fear. "Thank God, Oliver, you're safe," she whispered, her voice choked with emotion. Then she turned to Thor, who stood watching them with an almost serene expression, his tail wagging faintly. Sophia knelt down, her eyes filled with gratitude, and reached out to him. "Thank you," she said softly, her voice trembling. "I don't know who you are or where you came from, but you saved my child." Thor looked at her, his deep eyes holding a quiet wisdom, as if he understood the weight of her words. Yet there was a distant air about him, as though he knew his mission wasn't yet complete. Sophia, still kneeling beside Oliver, couldn't tear her eyes away from Thor. There was something extraordinary about this strays, something that defied explanation. He didn't behave like an ordinary dog. It was as if he had been sent, a guardian angel in fur, to protect her son. As she tried to soothe Oliver, her heart still racing from the ordeal, Thor's ears suddenly perked up. He jumped to his feet, his body tense and alert. A faint rustling came from the underbrush ahead, and Sophia's breath hitched. "What is it?" she whispered, her voice barely audible as she clutched Oliver tighter. Her protective instincts surged, every nerve in her body on edge. Thor positioned himself in front of them, his body as taut as a bowstring, ready to spring into action. Then he let out a loud, commanding bark that echoed through the trees, a sound that seemed to shake the very air around them. Sophia, though terrified, felt a strange sense of trust in Thor's instincts. She picked up Oliver, holding him close, and began to follow the dog, as he led them away from whatever danger lurked ahead. As they moved through the forest, the crunch of leaves beneath their feet was the only sound until Sophia heard it. Footsteps. Someone or something was following them. She turned around, her eyes scanning the dense trees, but she saw nothing. Thor, however, was growling softly, his body low and defensive, his eyes fixed on the shadows. "Let's get out of here quickly," Sophia whispered, her voice trembling as she quickened her pace. Her heart pounded in her chest, each step feeling heavier than the last. Suddenly, a man emerged from the shadows. He was tall, with a rifle slung over his shoulder and a hat pulled low over his eyes. "Is everything all right, Mum?" he asked, his tone casual but with an edge that made Sophia's skin crawl. She hesitated, her grip tightening around Oliver. "Yes," she finally replied, her voice shaky. "We're just trying to get out of the park." The man's eyes lingered on her for a moment before shifting to Thor. "Is that your dog?" he asked, his tone too curious, too interested. Sophia's stomach twisted. "No," she said carefully, "but he saved my son." The man smiled faintly, but there was no warmth in it. "Strange to find a dog like that around here," he said, his gaze narrowing. "He could be useful." Thor, sensing the tension, stepped forward, his growl deep and menacing. He positioned himself between Sophia and the man, his teeth bared. The hunter took a step back, raising his hands in mock surrender. "I didn't mean any harm," he said, but Sophia didn't believe him. There was something in his eyes, something cold and calculating. Thor didn't relax. He continued to guide Sophia and Oliver forward, his body language firm and unyielding. Sophia felt a surge of gratitude for the dog's unwavering determination. With Thor leading the way, she began to feel safer, even as the forest seemed to close in around them. Oliver, nestled in her arms, had calmed down. He looked up at her with wide, trusting eyes. "Mum," he whispered, his voice soft but filled with awe. "He's an angel." Sophia's heart swelled at his words. How could a stray dog, abandoned and alone, show such courage and intelligence? It was as if Thor had been sent to them for a reason, a protector in their darkest moment. A few minutes later, they reached a more open path, and in the distance, Sophia spotted the faint glow of lights. The park exit. Relief washed over her, but it was short-lived. She turned to Thor, who stood beside her, his tail wagging gently. Kneeling down, she looked into his deep, soulful eyes. "I don't know who you are or where you came from," she said, her voice thick with emotion. "But we owe you everything, thank you." Thor barked softly, as if to acknowledge her words, his tail wagging a little faster. Just as Sophia thought their ordeal was finally over, Oliver knelt beside Thor, his small hands reaching out to stroke the dog's muzzle. Thor leaned into the touch, his eyes closing for a moment as if savoring the connection. Oliver laughed, a sound so pure and joyful that it brought a glimmer of light to the tense afternoon. "Can I keep him, Mum?" he asked, his voice filled with hope. "He's my angel." Sophia hesitated, her heart torn. But deep down, she already knew the answer. Thor wasn't just a stray. He wasn't just a dog. He had become part of their family, a guardian, a friend, and a miracle they would never forget. After finally leaving the forest, Sophia, Oliver, and Thor found themselves on the main road leading to the park's parking lot. The golden hues of the sunset bathed the path in a warm glow, bringing a fleeting sense of relief. But the calm was short-lived. Thor suddenly stopped, his ears perked and his body stiff as a statue. He began barking toward the opposite side of the road, his growls low and urgent. Sophia, who had just begun to relax, felt a shiver run down her spine. "What's going on, Thor?" she whispered, her voice trembling as she followed the dog's intense gaze. From behind a bush, a figure emerged. It was the same man they had encountered earlier, Travis, the hunter, but this time his expression was different. He had put down his rifle and was holding a small flashlight, its beam aimed directly at them. "Ma'am, I didn't mean to scare you earlier," he said, his tone calm but laced with tension. "That dog does, he belonged to someone." Sophia stood up, her grip tightening on Oliver's small hand. "I don't know," she replied, her voice steady but wary. He saved my son. Travis took a step forward, his eyes narrowing as he studied Thor. This is no ordinary dog, he said slowly. I've never seen one like him around here, but he looks trained. He might have escaped from a special place or belonged to someone looking for him. Sophia's heart sank. What if Thor wasn't really a stray? What if he had a family, someone who had been searching for him all this time? Before she could respond, Thor let out a low growl, positioning himself between Sophia and Travis. The hunter raised his hands in a gesture of surrender. All right, I don't mean any harm, he said, though his smile didn't reach his eyes. Sophia started to relax, but Travis's next words sent a chill through her. You know, a few months ago, a truck carrying animals was involved in an accident near this area. Some of those dogs escaped, and they say one of them was special trained for rescue missions. Sophia's heart raced. Could it be true? Was Thor really a hero who had escaped from an accident? She looked at the dog, who stood calm but vigilant, his eyes fixed on Travis. How do you know that? She asked, her voice trembling with a mix of curiosity and fear. Travis shrugged, his tone casual but his gaze sharp. I know because I work with a rescue team. I didn't want to scare you, but when I saw that dog, well, he seemed familiar. Sophia didn't know what to think, but Oliver, standing beside her, was unwavering. He didn't escape, Mum, the boy said, his voice filled with innocent certainty. He's here for us. He's my angel. As they spoke, a car slowly approached down the road. Its headlights illuminated the scene, and Sophia noticed a man inside who seemed to be searching for something. Thor turned toward the car, barking loudly, his tail stiff and alert. The car stopped beside them, and the window rolled down. That's Thor, the man exclaimed, his voice filled with relief. Sophia looked at him in confusion. Thor, you know him? Yes, the man replied, his eyes never leaving the dog. He's the dog I lost during that accident Travis was talking about. He's a trained rescue dog, but we haven't found him since the accident. Thor slowly approached the car, his eyes locked on the man. For a moment, it seemed as though he might recognize him. But then, without hesitation, Thor turned and returned to Oliver's side, positioning himself next to the boy as if to say, "This is where I belong." The man got out of the car and knelt before Thor, his voice soft and pleading. "Thor, it's me. Come home." Thor looked at him, his tail wagging faintly, but he didn't move from Oliver's side. Sophia felt torn. If Thor truly belonged to this man, he had every right to take him back. But the bond between Thor and Oliver was undeniably a connection that felt deeper than mere chance. "I don't know," Sophia said, her voice heavy with emotion as she looked at Thor. "He saved my son. Maybe he's here for a reason." The parking lot, now bathed in the soft glow of twilight, became the stage for an emotional confrontation. Sophia, the man who claimed to be Thor's owner, and Travis stood in silence, while Thor remained steadfastly by Oliver's side. The boy, with his innocent heart, reached out a hand toward Thor and said, "You'll stay with me, right? Don't go away." Sophia watched the scene with a heavy heart. She couldn't ignore the profound bond Thor had formed with Oliver. But at the same time, the man in front of her seemed genuinely attached to the dog. "I don't want to cause any problems," the man said, his tone softer now. "Thor is a trained dog, and he's always been special. If he's chosen to stay with your son, there's a reason. But I just want to make sure you know he's not a stray. He's been with me for years, and I've been desperately searching for him since he disappeared." Sophia felt the weight of his words. Thor, who had been watching the man intently, seemed conflicted. For a moment, he approached the man, sniffing him and letting out a soft bark, as if to acknowledge their past. But then, without hesitation, he returned to Oliver's side, sitting next to the boy as if to say, "My place is here now." Travis, who had been silent until then, spoke up. "You know, animals have a special instinct. Thor has chosen to stay with this boy, maybe because he knows he's needed here. But it's also true that if he's really a trained dog, he could help many other people." His words struck Sophia deeply. She knelt beside Thor, her hand gently stroking his head. "You're really a hero, you know that," she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. "But I don't know what the right thing to do is for you." Oliver interrupted, wrapping his arms around Thor. "Mom, he doesn't want to leave. He saved me. He's my friend." The man, seeing the pure emotion in Oliver's eyes and the undeniable bond between the boy and the dog, stepped back. "Maybe we can find a solution," he said, his voice tinged with both sadness and understanding. "I could leave him with you for a while and come back to visit him. It's clear that right now he feels his place is here." Sophia was surprised by his offer. She hadn't expected him to be willing to part with Thor, even temporarily. "That would be wonderful," she said, feeling a wave of relief wash over her. "I don't want to take something precious from you, but this dog has done so much for us today. We can't just let him go." The man nodded slowly, his eyes lingering on Thor. "Thor has always been an extraordinary animal. If he's chosen you, there's a reason. But I'd just like to be able to see him again." In the following minutes, as Travis stepped away to give them space, Oliver and Thor continued to play together in the parking lot. The boy's laughter rang out, pure and joyful, as he stroked Thor's fur. Sophia watched the scene, her heart swelling with a mix of joy and relief. Thor wasn't just a savior, he was a gift, a beacon of hope and protection in their lives. "Maybe he's truly meant to be with us," she thought to herself. The man who had claimed to be Thor's owner approached once more, this time with a gentle smile. "I'll leave you my number," he said. "If you need help with him, call me. But promise me you'll take care of him like he deserves." Sophia nodded, her eyes filled with gratitude. "You can count on it. We'll do everything we can for him." In the days following the incredible meeting, Sophia and Oliver brought Thor into their daily life, officially making him part of their family. Thor quickly adapted, showing not only affection, but also an extraordinary intelligence that left Sophia in awe. However, not everything was smooth sailing. One evening, as Sophia was tucking Oliver into bed, Thor began acting strangely. He paced back and forth in front of the living room window, his low growls punctuated by sharp barks directed at the darkness outside. Sophia pulled back the curtains, her heart racing as she scanned the yard. But there was nothing, no movement, no sound, just the stillness of the night. "What's wrong, Thor?" she asked, her voice soft as she knelt beside him, stroking his fur to calm him. Thor stopped barking but remained tense, his eyes fixed on a spot in the shadows. It was as if he sensed something Sophia couldn't see, something that made her skin crawl. Despite her unease, she tried to brush it off, telling herself it was just nerves. But the next morning, as she walked Oliver to daycare, Sophia noticed a man lingering nearby. He was trying to appear casual, but his furtive glances in their direction sent a chill down her spine. Thor noticed him too. The dog immediately positioned himself between the man and Sophia, his growl deep and menacing, a sound she had never heard from him before. "Is everything okay?" Sophia asked the man, her voice steady but her grip tightening on Oliver's hand. The man raised his hands in a gesture of innocence, but his smile didn't reach his eyes. "Oh, "Excuse me, I just noticed that dog. He looks like one I was looking for." Sophia's instincts screamed at her to be cautious. "I don't know what you're talking about," she said firmly, her tone leaving no room for argument. "This dog is with us now." The man nodded, his smile fading into something more calculating, and slowly walked away. Thor didn't relax. He watched the man until he was out of sight, his body still tense, his growls fading into a low rumble. Sophia couldn't shake the unease that settled in her chest. That evening, she decided to call the man who had claimed to be Thor's original owner. She told him about the suspicious man and Thor's unusual behavior. "Do you think someone's trying to take him back?" she asked, her voice trembling with worry. "I'm not sure," the man replied, his tone heavy with concern. "But it's possible. Thor isn't an ordinary dog. If someone knows how special he is, they might want him for noble purposes." Sophia shuddered at the thought. She couldn't bear the idea of someone trying to harm Thor, especially now that he had become such an integral part of their lives. "I'll keep an eye out," she said finally, her voice firm, "but I won't let anyone take him away." Meanwhile, Travis, the hunter they had met in the park, reached out again after hearing about the situation. "I know how to track suspicious people," he said, his voice steady and reassuring. "If that man is trying to steal Thor, we can find out." Sophia hesitated. She wasn't sure if she could fully trust Travis, but Thor seemed to sense something in him. The dog's calm demeanor around the hunter was unusual, and it gave her a glimmer of hope. She decided to accept his help, praying it would be enough to keep her family safe. That same night, Sophia was jolted awake by a noise outside the door. Her heart pounded as she crept closer, her breath shallow. Thor was already there, standing in front of the door, his growls soft but menacing. Sophia peered through the peephole and saw a shadowy figure trying to force the lock. "Who's there?" she shouted, her voice trembling despite her efforts to stay calm. The figure froze for a moment, then vanished into the darkness. Thor barked furiously, scratching at the door as if he wanted to chase the intruder away. Sophia immediately called Travis and told him what had happened. "This is serious," he said, his voice sharp with urgency. "You need to file a report and set up security cameras. It'll help you protect Thor." Sophia nodded, her hands shaking as she hung up the phone. She wouldn't let anyone endanger her family or the dog who had saved her son. Despite the tension, Thor seemed more protective than ever. He stayed close to Oliver, his watchful eyes scanning every corner of the house, every movement outside the windows. Oliver, for his part, seemed to find endless comfort in Thor's presence. "Thor is my hero," he often said, his small hands gently stroking the dog's fur. Sophia's heart swelled with gratitude every time she heard those words. She knew the bond between Thor and Oliver was special, something rare and beautiful. But now it was clear that Thor would do anything to protect the Mevin, give his life. The next morning, Sophia woke with a heavy sense of unease that clung to her like a shadow. The events of the previous night played over and over in her mind, leaving her restless and on edge. As she looked out the window, she saw Thor sitting on the lawn, his gaze fixed on the edge of their garden. He was alert, his body tense, as if he were waiting for something or someone. As she prepared breakfast for Oliver, a familiar car pulled up in front of the house. It was Travis, the hunter. He stepped out of the vehicle with a serious expression, carrying a folder of documents and an electronic device. "I've done some research," he said as he entered, his voice low and urgent. "And I think there are more people involved in this matter." Sophia's heart skipped a beat. "What do you mean?" she asked, her voice tinged with worry. Travis explained that he had traced suspicious activities in the area. The man they had seen in the park was part of an organization that specialized in recovering trained animals to sell them illegally. Thor, with his extraordinary abilities, was likely one of their top targets. They must have heard about the truck accident, Travis continued, his tone grim. And now they're desperately searching for him. Sophia felt a chill run through her. What can we do to protect him? First of all, Travis said, holding up a device he had brought, I've installed security cameras around the house, and we need to keep a close watch on Thor. Never leave him alone. That evening, after tucking Oliver into bed, Sophia sat with Thor beside her. She stroked his fur slowly, her mind racing with thoughts and fears. She had grown so attached to him, and seeing him protect Oliver had given her a sense of security she hadn't felt in years. But now, with this new threat looming, she couldn't help but wonder if she was doing the right thing. Thor deserved a peaceful life, free from danger. Maybe staying with them wasn't the best solution for him. What should I do, Thor? She murmured, her voice barely above a whisper as she looked into his deep, knowing eyes. Thor responded by laying his head on her lap, his warm breath steady and reassuring. It was as if he were telling her, I'm here. This is where I belong. The following day, the man who had claimed to be Thor's original owner came to visit again. He brought documents that proved Thor had been trained as a rescue dog for an international team. These dogs are extraordinary, he explained, his voice filled with pride. They're trained to help in emergency situations, and Thor is one of the best we've ever had. But if you want to keep him, I won't stop you. It seems he's found a new mission with you. Sophia was silent for a long moment, her heart torn. On one hand, she knew Thor had a special gift, and he could save more lives. On the other hand, the bond between Thor and Oliver was unbreakable. I need to think about it, she finally said, her voice heavy with emotion. That night, another shadow moved around the house. The security cameras Travis had installed picked up movement, and a discreet alarm alerted Sophia. She jumped up, her heart pounding, and saw Thor already in position in front of the door, his body tense and ready. When Sophia checked the footage, her blood ran cold. Two men with flashlights were approaching the house, one of them carrying what looked like a crowbar. She immediately called Travis and the man who had claimed to be Thor's owner. They both arrived quickly, and the two suspicious men fled before they could be confronted. The next morning, Sophia decided it was time to act. She sat down with Oliver, her voice gentle but firm as she explained that Thor was special and that some bad people wanted to take him away, but they can't. Oliver protested, tears welling up in his eyes. Thor is my friend. Sophia pulled him into a tight hug, her own eyes filling with tears. I know, sweetheart. We'll do everything we can to protect him, but it might be necessary to find a way to keep him safe, even if that means letting him go for a while. Thor watched the scene intently, as if he understood every word. He approached Oliver, licking his hand gently, and the boy hugged him even tighter, his small arms wrapped around the dog's neck. The next night was different. Thor seemed more vigilant than ever, his eyes constantly scanning the windows, his ears twitching at every sound. Sophia sat beside him, her own nerves on edge, feeling that something was about to happen. The air was unnaturally still, the only sound the soft rustle of leaves in the wind. Around midnight, a sharp crack broke the silencer, broken branch near the side of the house. Thor jumped to his feet, his bark fierce and commanding, a sound that sent shivers down Sophia's spine. She checked the security cameras and saw 3 figures moving stealthily toward the back of the house. One of them was carrying a crowbar. Her heart raced as she grabbed the phone and called Travis. "They're trying to break in," she whispered, her voice trembling. "Keep the door closed and stay calm," Travis replied, his tone steady. "I'm on my way." Thor was already positioned in front of the back door, his fur bristling and his teeth bared. Sophia picked up Oliver and hurried to an inner room, locking the door behind them. "Don't be afraid, sweetheart," she whispered, holding him close. "Thor will protect us." One of the men began forcing the back door open, the metallic sound of the crowbar against the lock echoing through the house. Thor was ready. With a powerful leap, he launched himself at the door, barking furiously. The sound startled the intruders, but they didn't stop. When they finally managed to force the door open, Thor pounced on the first man, knocking him to the ground with a deep, guttural growl. The other two backed off, their faces pale with fear. Just then, the sound of sirens filled the air. Travis arrived moments later, accompanied by local police who had been alerted during the drive. The men tried to flee, but were quickly blocked. Sophia watched everything from the window, Oliver held tightly in her arms. Thor, still positioned in front of the door, seemed ready to defend the family at any cost. "It's incredible," one of the officers said to Travis. "This dog practically stopped the attack on his own." After the arrest of the intruders, the police found compromising documents in their backpacks. They contained detailed information about Thor and his training. One of the men confessed they had been trying to recover him to sell him to an organization that used trained animals for unethical purposes. Travis, along with Thor's supposed owner, examined the documents. These men were part of an international animal trafficking organization, Travis explained. Thor wasn't just a rescue dog. He was one of the most valuable ones they had ever trained. Sophia felt sick at the thought that Thor was considered just a valuable object by these people. She looked at the dog, who was now back beside Oliver, licking his face to calm him down. "It doesn't matter what those documents say," Sophia said, her voice firm and resolute. "Thor is part of our family now." While the situation seemed resolved, Travis warned Sophia that the threat wasn't completely eliminated. "If this is an international organization, they might try to come back. We need to be ready." Sophia nodded, but the thought filled her with dread. She couldn't imagine losing Thor, especially after everything they had been through together. In the days that followed, Sophia's home was transformed into a fortress, with additional cameras and a state-of-the-art alarm system installed to ensure their safety. Thor remained their steadfast guardian, but he also revealed a tender, affectionate side toward Oliver, who had come to trust him completely. One evening, as Oliver gently petted Thor before bed, he whispered, "Mum, Thor isn't just a dog, he's our angel." Sophia smiled, her eyes glistening as she wiped away a tear. "Yes, sweetheart, that's exactly what he is." In the aftermath of the attack, Sophia worked tirelessly to restore a sense of normalcy. Yet, the atmosphere at home had shifted. Though the police assured her that the intruders had been arrested, Travis warned her that the danger wasn't entirely over. Thor seemed to sense the lingering tension. He remained ever vigilant, accompanying Sophia everywhere and keeping a watchful eye over Oliver. One night, as Sophia tucked Oliver into bed, the boy asked a question that caught her off guard. "Mom, do you think Thor chose to stay with us because he knows we need him?" Sophia paused, her heart swelling as she looked at her son. "Yes, sweetheart. I believe Thor came to us for a special reason. He's here to protect us and give us strength." Oliver smiled, his small hand stroking Thor, who lay faithfully beside the bed. "Then we must never let him go." Those words echoed in Sophia's heart, heavy with both love and worry. She had begun to wonder if keeping Thor was truly the best choice for him. While it was clear that he was deeply bonded to them, she couldn't ignore the fact that his presence was drawing dangerous attention. One morning, as Sophia took Oliver to the park, she noticed a man sitting on a bench, his gaze fixed on them. He was unfamiliar, different from the intruders who had attacked their home. Thor, usually calm, began to growl softly, his body tense. Sophia approached cautiously, keeping Oliver close. "Can I help you?" she asked, her voice firm but tinged with unease. The man looked up and smiled. "Sorry, I didn't mean to startle you. My name's Luke, and I'm a dog trainer. I've heard about Thor and his story. May I approach?" Sophia hesitated, but Thor didn't seem alarmed by the man's presence. She nodded slowly, her eyes tracking his every move. Luke crouched in front of Thor, making respectful eye contact. "He's incredible," Luke said, gently petting the dog. "This dog has something special. It's rare to see such a strong bond between an animal and a family." Sophia relaxed slightly, but remained cautious. "Why are you here?" she asked. Luke explained that Travis had contacted him to offer assistance. "I know you're concerned about Thor's safety and your family's. I want to help you understand how to protect him better and perhaps learn more about his past." That evening, Luke carefully observed Thor, studying his behavior and reactions. After an hour of analysis, he made a discovery that left Sophia speechless. "Thor isn't just a rescue dog," he said. "He was trained for highly sensitive missions, likely search and rescue operations in conflict zones. He's an exceptional animal, and that's why he attracts so much attention." Sophia felt a mix of pride and anxiety. "What does this mean for us?" Luke sat beside her, his tone reassuring. "It means you need to be prepared. Thor is a target for those who want to exploit him, but it also means he's more than capable of protecting your family." Meanwhile, the bond between Thor and Oliver continued to deepen. One evening, as they played in the garden, Oliver tripped and fell. Before Sophia could react, Thor was already by the boy's side, licking his face to comfort him. "It's okay, Mom," Oliver said, laughing. "Thor always protects me." Sophia realized that Thor wasn't just a guardian, he was a true friend to her son. With each passing day, it became clearer that Thor had become an irreplaceable part of their lives. Despite the apparent calm, Travis received troubling news. A group linked to the animal trafficking organization was actively searching for Thor. "We can't let our guard down," Sophia warned. "We need to be ready for anything." With Luke's help, Travis and Thor's original owner, Sophia, began implementing additional security measures. She knew she could never let anyone take Thor away, but she also needed to balance protecting him with ensuring her family's safety. The days passed in a fragile peace, but Sophia knew it was only temporary. Thor remained vigilant, his eyes scanning every corner of the house, while Oliver continued to marvel at his four-legged friend. One evening, as Sophia read a story to Oliver, Thor suddenly began to growl. He moved to the window, his gaze fixed on the darkness outside. Sophia's heart raced as she stood to investigate. Through the window, she saw shadows creeping toward the house. Sophia grabbed the phone to call Travis, but Thor erupted into furious barking, charging toward the door. A loud crash echoed someone was trying to break in. Sophia rushed to lock Oliver in the inner room, just as she had done before. "Stay here, sweetheart. Don't come out for any reason," she said, her voice trembling despite her efforts to stay calm. Thor stood firm in front of the door, his growls low and menacing, a clear warning to the intruders. This time, the intruders didn't stop. With a loud crack, they forced the door open. Thor lunged at the first man, knocking him to the ground with incredible force. The others hesitated, startled by the dog's ferocity. Sophia, hidden in a corner, watched with her heart in her throat. She called the police, praying they would arrive in time. The intruders, however, weren't backing down. One of them pulled out a weapon, aiming it at Thor, but the dog was faster, dodging the attack and barking furiously to draw attention. Just as the situation seemed to spiral out of control, sirens blared in the distance. The intruders panicked, trying to flee, but Travis arrived just in time, blocking their escape. "Stop. You're not going anywhere," he shouted, his weapon trained on them. The police soon arrived, arresting the men and ending the attack. Sophia let out a shaky breath, clutching Oliver tightly. During the interrogation, one of the men confessed, "This dog is worth millions. We won't stop until he's ours." The confession made it clear how dire the situation had become. Sophia realized that keeping Thor meant not only endangering him, but also putting her family at risk. That night, as she sat with Travis and Luke in the living room, Sophia faced an agonizing decision. "I can't let him go," she said, her hand resting on Thor's head. "But I can't put Oliver in danger either." Travis nodded solemnly. "We could find a safe place for Thor, at least until things calm down." Luke interjected, "Or we could work to dismantle this organization. If we eliminate the threat at its core, Thor could stay with you." Sophia looked at Thor, his trusting eyes meeting hers. She knew he would do anything to protect them, but she couldn't ignore the risks. After a long, painful discussion, Sophia decided to temporarily entrust Thor to a safe haven. "It's not goodbye," she said, tears streaming down her face. "It's just until we're all safe." Oliver protested, clinging to Thor. "No, Mum. Thor is my best friend. We can't let him go." Sophia knelt beside him, her voice gentle but firm. "I know, sweetheart. But we're doing this to protect him. Thor will come back to us, I promise." Thor seemed to understand. He rested his head on Oliver's lap, licking his face as if to say, "I'll be back." The decision to temporarily part from Thor weighed heavily on Sophia's heart. As the safe haven prepared to welcome the dog, the atmosphere at home grew heavy with sorrow. Oliver barely spoke, spending his days clinging to Thor as if trying to imprint every moment with him into his memory. Travis and Luke worked tirelessly to ensure Thor would be transferred to a secure, isolated facility. "This place is designed to protect at-risk animals," Luke explained to Sophia. "Thor will be safe there until we dismantle the trafficking network." Sophia nodded, but the thought of being without Thor left her feeling hollow. "What if we can't stop them?" she asked, her voice trembling. "It won't come to that," Travis replied firmly. "We'll stop them, I promise you." The day of the transfer arrived too soon. Thor seemed to sense Sophia and Oliver's anguish, staying close to them all morning. When the time came, Oliver burst into tears. "Why does he have to go?" he cried, hugging Thor with all his might. Sophia knelt beside him, struggling to keep her composure. "Sweetheart, Thor needs to stay in a safe place for a while, but he'll come back, I promise." Thor, as if understanding the gravity of the moment, licked Oliver's face, then turned to Sophia, resting his head in her hands. She stroked him, her throat tight with emotion. "Come back to us, Thor. We're your family." Travis took Thor's leash and led him to the vehicle. As the car pulled away, Sophia and Oliver stood on the doorstep, watching until it disappeared from sight. Meanwhile, Travis and Luke intensified their investigation into the organization. With the police's help, they tracked down other members of the network and discovered a storage facility where several trained animals were being held illegally. "This is where we need to strike," Travis said, studying the maps and gathered intelligence. "If we dismantle this facility, we can cripple their operation." Luke nodded, though he knew the operation would be risky. "We need to be ready for anything. These people are ruthless." As the team prepared for the operation, Sophia received a chilling phone call. "We know you have the dog," a cold voice said, "and we want him back. Don't make this difficult." Sophia's blood ran cold. "I don't know what you're talking about," she replied, forcing her voice to stay steady. "Oh, you know exactly what I mean. We'll give you one more chance, but if you don't cooperate, there will be consequences." The call ended abruptly, leaving Sophia trembling. She immediately called Travis, who ordered her to stay inside and keep Oliver safe. The team decided to accelerate the operation, launching it that very night. Travis, Luke, and a police team stormed the storage facility. They found animals in deplorable conditions and a trove of documents detailing the organization's operations. But the most shocking discovery was a plan to kidnap Thor directly from the safe haven. "They were ready for anything," Travis said, showing the documents to Sophia. "Fortunately, we stopped them in time." With several arrests and the rescue of the animals, the situation seemed to be turning in their favor. But Sophia knew the real test would be bringing Thor home without drawing more attention. Travis and Luke worked to ensure Thor's return would be discreet and safe. When the day finally arrived, Sophia and Oliver waited anxiously for their four-legged friend. The tension was palpable as every sound outside seemed amplified, and Sophia couldn't stop glancing at the clock. They had planned the transfer meticulously, using a remote route and switching vehicles twice to throw off any potential followers. "If everything goes according to plan, Thor will be home by evening," Travis had said that morning. But Sophia couldn't shake the feeling that something would go wrong. Meanwhile, Luke, who had stayed at the safe haven to oversee the transfer, noticed a suspicious car parked nearby. Its occupants seemed to be watching the facility closely. "They found the safe haven," Luke told Travis over the phone. "We need to move now." Travis, already en route to Sophia's, made a U-turn and headed back. "We can't take any chances. Let's change the plan completely." They decided to use a different vehicle and take an even more remote route. Despite their precautions, the group was intercepted halfway. Two unidentified vehicles blocked the road, and armed men stepped out to confront Travis and his team. Thor, inside the vehicle, began barking furiously. Travis, keeping his cool, stepped out with his hands raised. "I don't know what you want, but you're not getting this dog." One of the men, clearly the leader, stepped forward. "That dog doesn't belong to you. He's ours, and we'll take him back by force if necessary." As the leader spoke, Travis noticed one of the men moving toward the vehicle. Thor, sensing the threat, slammed his paws against the window, drawing attention to himself. Suddenly, he did the unexpected. He leaped through a half-open window and charged at one of the men, knocking him down with incredible force. Travis seized the moment to confront the leader, while Thor continued to protect the team, attacking anyone who came too close. Despite being outnumbered, the dog's determination was unwavering. Just as the situation seemed to spiral out of control, sirens blared in the distance. The police, alerted by Travis before the transfer, arrived just in time to neutralize the threat. The men were arrested, but not before the leader made one final threat. "This isn't over. We'll have that dog, no matter what." Thor, exhausted but still vigilant, returned to Travis's side, his gaze fixed on the scene. After the confrontation, Travis made a quick decision. Thor had to return home immediately, without further detours. This time, escorted by the police, they completed the journey without incident. When the vehicle pulled up to Sophia's house, Oliver ran outside, shouting with joy, "Thor, you're back." The dog bounded toward him, barking happily. Sophia, watching the scene, finally felt a wave of relief. Thor was home, and now anything seemed possible. That evening, as Thor rested at the foot of Oliver's bed, Sophia made a decision. "I'll never let anyone put us in danger again. Thor is part of our family, and we'll do everything to protect him." Travis nodded. "Now that we've caught some of the culprits, we can focus on dismantling the entire network. But it will take time. In the meantime, Thor will be safe here." Sophia stroked Thor, overwhelmed with gratitude for this extraordinary dog. She knew their lives had changed forever, but now she felt ready to face whatever came next. The night was calm in Sophia's house. Thor rested next to Oliver's bed, his ears twitching, always alert for any suspicious sound. Sophia couldn't sleep, despite the arrest of part of the organization. The threat still lingered, a shadow she couldn't shake. Around midnight, Thor leaped to his feet, a low growl rumbling in his chest. Sophia bolted up and rushed to the window. In the darkness, she saw shadows moving stealthily through the garden. Fear struck her like a lightning bolt. Despite all their precautions, someone had found them. Sophia quickly called Travis as Thor positioned himself in front of the door, ready to defend the house once more. A loud crash shattered the silence. The living room window had been broken, and two men slipped inside. Thor immediately charged at the first intruder, knocking him to the ground with incredible force. The second man swung an improvised weapon at Thor, but the dog dodged the blow, barking furiously to draw attention. Sophia, trembling, grabbed Oliver and rushed to the inner room, just as she had done before. "Don't worry, sweetheart. Thor will protect us," she whispered, holding him tightly. In the living room, Thor faced the intruders with unyielding courage. Despite being outnumbered, he fought with ferocity, pushing them back every time they tried to advance. Suddenly, a third man appeared, this time armed with a gun. Thor froze, his eyes locked on the weapon. The man raised it, aiming directly at him. But in that moment, headlights flooded the room. Travis and the police had arrived. The intruders, caught off guard, tried to flee but were quickly subdued by the officers. Thor, visibly exhausted, stood beside Travis, his chest heaving but his gaze steady, as if ensuring everything was under control. One of the officers approached Sophia, his voice calm and reassuring. "It's over. We've got them." Sophia, tears streaming down her face, emerged from the inner room with Oliver, hugging Thor tightly. "You saved our family again," she whispered, stroking him with deep gratitude. Travis approached, holding a document recovered from the intruders. "We've finally dismantled the entire network," he said, "and Thor played a key role. These men won't be a problem anymore." Sophia nodded, relief washing over her, though it was mixed with overwhelming emotion. She looked at Thor, who was now lying on the floor, breathing heavily but with a look of quiet satisfaction. In the days that followed, Thor's story spread throughout the community. Neighbors gathered to celebrate the dog's bravery, organizing a small ceremony in his honor. Oliver, beaming with pride, prepared a drawing of Thor, depicting him as a true hero. "He's our protector," the child declared proudly. Sophia felt a wave of gratitude for this extraordinary dog who had entered their lives so unexpectedly, bringing with him strength, courage, and unconditional love. With the threat finally eliminated, Sophia and Oliver began to rebuild their lives. Thor, while still vigilant, seemed more at ease, as if he knew the danger had passed. One evening, as they watched the sunset from the garden, Sophia stroked Thor and said, "You're more than a dog to us. You're family." Oliver hugged Thor, adding, "And I'll always be your best friend," his smile radiant. With the criminal network dismantled and the intruders arrested, Sophia's home returned to a place of peace. Thor, their tireless protector, resumed his life with them, but something had shifted. His demeanor was calmer, as if he finally understood he was safe and truly belonged. Oliver, who had faced fear and courage alongside his four-legged friend, never left Thor's side. They were inseparable, their bond growing deeper with each passing day. One morning, as they played together in the garden, Sophia watched with a smile. The sun filtered through the trees, and the sound of Oliver's laughter mixed with Thor's joyful barks. It was a scene she could never have imagined just a few months earlier, when their lives had been so different. A few weeks later, Sophia received an unexpected call. It was Travis. "Sophia, they want to recognize Thor's bravery. There's a ceremony organized by the local association to honor animals who've performed heroic acts. Thor will be the guest of honor." Sophia accepted with pride, knowing how well-deserved the recognition was. During the ceremony, Thor received a special medal and a certificate for his bravery. The crowd applauded, and Oliver, bursting with pride, held up Thor's award for everyone to see. "Thor is the best dog in the world," he declared, earning a warm round of applause. Over time, Sophia regained control of her life. The emotional scars from the past began to heal, thanks to the love and support of Oliver and Thor. "I don't know how I would have managed without you," she said one evening to Thor, stroking him as he rested beside her on the sofa. "You've been our hero, but more than anything, you're part of our family." Thor lifted his gaze, wagging his tail gently, as if to say he would always watch over them. Thor's story became an inspiration for many in the community. The courage and loyalty of a once stray dog who had become the protector of a family showed how love and determination could overcome any adversity. Sophia decided to share their experience, telling Thor's story at an event dedicated to raising awareness about animal welfare and adoption. "Every animal has priceless value," she told the audience. "Thor didn't just save our lives. He taught us what it truly means to love unconditionally." As the seasons passed, Sophia, Oliver, and Thor continued to build a life together, creating happy memories and looking toward the future with hope. Thor remained Oliver's faithful companion, protecting him and playing with him every day. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Oliver hugged Thor and said, "Thank you for being my best friend. I love you, Thor." Sophia, watching the scene, felt her heart swell with gratitude. They had faced unimaginable challenges, but together they had found the strength to overcome them. Thor wasn't just a dog. He was a symbol of their resilience and the love that bound them as a family. Thor's story and his family's journey remind us of the extraordinary impact animals can have on our lives. If you enjoyed this story, leave a comment and share your thoughts. What would you do if an animal suddenly entered your life and changed it forever? Don't forget to subscribe for more heartfelt stories and leave a like to support our work. Remember, love and courage can be found in the most unexpected places. Thank you for being part of our story.